Okay, perfect. Just to echo what Greg said, I just want to say a really, really big thank you to everyone coming out here for today. I know it's taking a lot of time out of your regular busy schedules, but the community keeps growing and growing, and on behalf of Sun Life, we really, really love to see the expansion of the school's network and the community, and we see alumni coming back, we see industry professionals coming back, and on behalf of Sun Life, we love to give back to this great cause, so thank you so much for the opportunity. So last year, this person stood on the stage and asked us whether we were building careers worth waking up to. And if you were here, lucky enough to witness this and go across the street over to the auditorium, a lot of us were thinking about that main question. What is the career that we're waking up to, and is it worth having? And this individual, if you hadn't waken up from your lunch, his F-bombs that he threw in really spiced things up. So hopefully we'll see what he throws in today. But this year he's back, and the question is bigger. Gagan Diesh has spent 2 decades helping designers, builders, and leaders do their best work. He's founded Design Stamp in 2001. He's led projects for the Gates Foundation, as well as some other additional nonprofits. He's helped Thinkific to a $1 billion IPO, and their VP of Experience Design as his position. And so today, he coaches designers, leaders, and product folks on their careers and on the tough problems they face for work. He and I have had conversations, and we'll pivot and have wonderful conversations about things that are on topic and things that aren't. So he's a great person. Definitely reach out to him for the networking session. But what he's here today to talk about, he's spent some time over the last month gathering some insight, gathering some user research, talking to almost 24 folks in the industry, designers, builders, and leaders right here in our own community. And he's captured not just what people said, but what they're struggling with. So the things that people don't often want to say. And his talk is called AI, and what's left for us. It's not a talk about artificial intelligence, it's a talk about us. What we gave up willingly, what's being taken away, and what happens to our work and worth when the basics get automated. So please give a warm welcome to back to the Blend stage, Gagan Diesh.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so because it's late afternoon, I've got some work for you. They're going to take a photo. We're going to pretend like we are being abducted by aliens. So you have to, if you can, stand and be in the pose that you would be as an alien takes you over. Okay, so mine is like this, but you get to choose whatever you're going to do. And I have very little time, so 3, 2, 1, make a pose. Are we good?
Oh, you're excited. I'm terrified.
Thank you. That was great. So I have 20 minutes to solve the problem with AI in the future, and we're going to do this together. It's going to be super easy. Nothing's going to go wrong. We have all the answers in the world. This is an AI fail image of roller skating that I thought was interesting. So I don't know much about AI, so what I did was I spent the last month having some really interesting conversations. They were all off the record, and that you can never ask me who I interviewed. I talked to basically, Act 1. We're going to talk about us and our identity and how we define ourselves at work. So the people I talked to, a quarter of them were designers, researchers, leadership, academia, product. I also talked to people who own businesses, lawyers, like just basically a lot of people who are working with AI or struggling with it. My research showed that designers are the most scared right now, and that is troubling to me because I've spent my entire career in design. If you think about it, designers are, by their very nature, planning for the future, and if they are afraid of what's next, that's a little bit troubling. I should mention, actually, product is also on fire. This is a breakdown of how we actually spend our day. So only 30% is the stuff that you're trained for, which is your craft. A lot of time is in meetings, so 26%. I put optics, but it's really talking about our work and advocating for what we want to do. Sorry, my throat is like really, sorry, one sec. And then a quarter of our time is spent on what is next for the future and where we are headed, and then a lot of time on one-on-ones with people that we are working with. These were some of the patterns of things that we don't want to let go. So these are the things that we are not willing for AI to take over. Parsing the problem with people, using my own voice, storytelling, AI makes it feel flat. Knowledge-based conversations, collab and creative thinking, deep thinking, connecting the dots, hearing emotions. So I took that, and I thought about what that leaves us. So you'll notice nobody said, I don't want to give up Figma, right? Nobody talked about tools. They're talking about being people. Like we, by our very nature, want to solve problems. We want to tell stories. We want to connect the dots. We also want to make sense of things that don't make sense. So throughout this presentation, I'll have some questions for you. This is number one. What is your irreplaceable superpower? So we don't have the time to do it right now. We'll do it at the end. But if you can just think about it, meditate on it. Act 2. So this is the stuff that we are actually really happy to give up when it comes to AI. These are the things that we are like, you know what? Let's give this to automation. Some of it is consensual, and some of it is not, because organizations are telling us that we need to use AI. So in my research, admin and scheduling, it's shocking, but people don't want to do it. Status updates, the same updates to multiple people. That was definitely a pattern. Documentation drafts, I'll get into that. It's not actually as easy as it sounds. Meeting notes, 100% of people do not want to take notes. Either they use AI or they wish AI was better in terms of summarizing what happened in meetings. And then those of us who deal with data, we are using AI in the initial stages of parsing out that data. So roughly about half of our work goes into meetings, reporting, and syncs. I want you to think about that, especially if you're a graduate. Think about what you've been trained for versus the work you're actually doing. Half of, like, basically all that work we are ready to give up to AI. So that leaves a lot of room for us. In terms of workflow, AI is taking over 85% of cold starts, which means a blank page, whether that's an email or a document. 85% is being done by AI. Shaping, which is actually figuring out the problem to solve. We use it as a sparring partner, but it's not really actually useful at that level right now. Mechanical work, which basically means pushing pixels, writing code, more than half of it is being done by AI. I actually learned a stat today. We are at a 10% plateau. What that means is 90% of developers use AI, but they save roughly about 4 hours a week. So that's like not that great. And 5% is in terms of people. So if you work with a difficult boss or a difficult coworker, you can use AI for a little bit, but at some point you're going to have that conversation. So if so much of our work is going away to AI, why do we still have quotes like this? And this interview in specific was very emotional, because this person they were talking about the craft that they thought they were joining versus the craft that they're in. So next question for you. If half of our work is done by AI, is your job 50% easier? Are you spending 50% more time with friends and family because now, you know what, AI's got that? Act 3. This is actually looking at the face of AI in itself. So we've talked about things we are ready to give up. We talked about the things that we are not ready to give up. But where are we at with AI in this moment of change? I did a sentiment analysis. It's somewhat ironic. I use AI for this. And I mapped it to titles. I don't think this is super shocking, but basically juniors are on fire. Mid-level is also scared. But then the fear lessens as you go up. And I think that is because it's always been messy at the top. It's always been chaotic. It's always been about politics. It's always been about corporate religious debates. It's always been about egos. Obama has a really good quote. Once you get a seat at the table, you realize people ain't all that. So you're working with people who have been promoted past the level of competence. I love that phrase. I use it like all the time. And when you do that, you're working with their egos and you're not working with their skill set, right? You're working with opinions. The human mess is still best solved by us. Nobody said this, but I think it's also because a lot of seniors are thinking about how long they have to do this bullshit before they quit or retire. I especially love this AI photo. You will see a little bit of AI fail. I don't know if you can see at the back, robotic home solutions. I didn't ask it to do any of this. It did it itself. I think one of them is a robot. I can't tell which one. So here's where we start to get hopeful, right? These are the things that you are intrinsically good at. You may not even think about it, but you are actually really good at reading a room. You actually can feel if I am doing a good job, or I'm bored, or I'm engaged, or I'm angry, or I'm not telling you what there is to actually tell you about the situation. You're actually very super inventive when it comes to being in a meeting. You can change course. You can change your mind. You can change other people's mind. You build trust with the people that you work with in how you treat them outside of meetings, right? Like you have this dynamic that is really powerful. Contextual strategy is a fancy way of saying you have history with companies. You understand the language you can use in a meeting. You understand what is permissible. It's like gravity. Organizations have their own gravity. Some quotes. Strategy doesn't come in a box. It ties together disparate things. It has an underlying appreciation of human behavior and the culture of your company. So again, think about that. 35% of what we do is our craft. The rest is so human still. It's still so messy, right? Interviewing real people, seeing their facial reactions, the emotional weight, you'll never get that with synthetic users. AI is a prediction model. This was really cool. This was an interview with someone who's very successful and has gone back to do a master's in AI. And he's like really thinking about it I can't say that word. Can someone help me? Anthropologically. Yeah, that's good enough, right? I'm a brown guy. This is the best I got. AI is a prediction model. It predicts what comes next based on what has been done millions of times. It cannot make the jump of a creative human. I always want to say yet for everything. Yet. So in my interviews, it seemed like there were two camps. There were people who are gung-ho about AI. They want to use it as much as possible for themselves and their teams. And then there are people who are also doubling down on the human, and they don't actually talk about it. A lot of those people are having these conversations under the guise of a different conversation because it's uncomfortable. This is the aggressive camp. Some of these quotes are, I find, a bit troubling in that I don't actually see agency. I'm not seeing people make decisions for themselves. They're making decisions that organizations have told them to make, or they feel a pressure that is outside of themselves. This is the other camp. So a lot of connection around humanity, humans, new hobbies, friends, staying more connected. I suspect a lot of this also has to do with politics, right? I didn't get into that, but because we live in an unsafe world, people are actually looking for more deeper connections with the communities that they are part of. The top comment there, my feel is that I think we also have a knee-jerk reaction to what's new sometimes. We are really so precious about our design tools and how we think of design that some of us are saying we're not interested in playing with AI design tools. I loathe some of them. This one was actually related to Figma Make, if anyone's used it. There was a lot of hate for Figma Make. I am focused on upskilling on areas that interest me. So this is loaded few questions for you. I think it's really important for us to have our own policies on what we will and will not give up. Because no one's going to take your job away. You can actually give it away without realizing it. So being clear on what it is that you are okay with giving up, and also encouraging companies to have some ethics around how and why we use AI. And get them to say it, right? Get them to say it's saving me money, it's making money. Like, get them to actually tell you why is that a strategic goal. And in terms of conversations, some of it could be around legal and compliance. That came up a fair bit. It came up around privacy. So if you're a Canadian company and you work with US clients, what does that look like? How are you sharing data? Who are you sharing with? Do you have a gated AI, LLM, or what is happening in your organization? Unfortunately, I think this is, I think we all know that. The junior role is in trouble right now as we speak. These are some of the quotes. Again, there was a sense of guilt that people expressed. My quotes don't maybe communicate that, but that quote on the top left, we don't hire juniors. We used to, but we don't anymore. We just can't. I left that we because I wanted to express how they felt about it. They felt really sorry that they weren't able to hire juniors. They felt sorry that they didn't have the time, or they didn't have the space, or they had given up a lot of the admin work that they would usually use for juniors to automation. I found this middle comment weird. I have no other way of saying it. I have automated most of our admin work so our team can focus on the human touch. But when we are doing that, we're actually giving up jobs as well. Like, we're literally giving up some of the human touch to have human touch. I didn't know this phrase till I prepped for this presentation. It basically means corn farmers, it's their responsibility to keep high-quality corn aside for the next year, right? So that you can have a sustainable business, so that you can plant that corn and have a crop the next year. We're not doing that anymore. We're eating the seed corn. And that's because you cannot become a senior if there is no junior track. How is that happening right now? How are we all supposed to be seniors? What do I say to a graduate when they're like, well, where's the job for me? I've put in all this money. What do I do next? I promise it gets better. I swear to you. I'm about there. I promise. This is not my advice, but this is some of the stuff that people who said they cannot hire juniors thought you should do. I think building your critical thinking skills is a classic skill. Listening attentively is a classic skill. Coding, you know what? You could learn coding today, and then tomorrow it'll be outdated. So I don't know if that would be my focus right now. I have some ideas. You cannot see that, but I just wanted you to get the quantity first before I zoom in. So I don't use Facebook, and it was my birthday a few days ago. Everybody does this. You need a dopamine hit, so you open Facebook just to see how many people wished you. It's a quantity game. You're looking to see what messages people have sent to you. This is, I hope you can see this. It's the same message over and over and over again. I also don't know what kind of friends you have. My friends don't use commas like that, right? And those emojis, no. So think about that for a second. That microtransaction has been flattened so hard. It did nothing for my dopamine, I gotta tell you that. I opened this and I just felt depressed. I was like, these people weren't thinking about me. They weren't thinking about me. They became robots with just hitting submit. The machine told them how many times to hit submit, and they just hit submit, right? Like, you can see that video of somebody just doing a repetitive task. For them, they don't even know that they wished me. They just have a list of people to wish. They haven't thought about me. So their dopamine and their connection to me, nothing. It's all flat, right? So AI is pushing us towards efficiency. It's pushing us towards engagement metrics. Facebook got what they wanted out of it, right? I cracked it open, I saw it. Actually, they didn't, because I fucking hate it, and oh, shit. I promised myself I wouldn't swear this time. They got what they wanted out of it, but the receiver of that message and the person who sent it got nothing out of it. It's like not even like eating a bag of chips. At least they're fun. This is a more pragmatic example. So this is a friend of mine. She works with a new product manager in her company. The product manager wrote a really long product brief. It's about 11 pages, if you can see at the top. Most of their product managers would not do that. They wouldn't be this giant, long document. What I found interesting about this, and I rebuilt this in AI, so their branding was gone, but I left all the typos, and I wanted you to get a sense of the disclaimer. So think about that for a second. A product manager writes a document, tells you that the document is full of errors, but that's okay. Classically, a product manager would do all of these things, right? You're going to investigate a problem, you're going to research it, you're going to get some designers talking, you'll get some flows, you'll have stakeholder engagement, you'll get into that messy conversation of being like, we want to build this and we want to build that, and your document brings it all together. It unifies people, it gives them a direction, it gets them excited. But this guy, this dude, that's all he did. Like, he wrote a prompt, and he spent a lot of time on that cover my ass disclaimer, which had mistakes. Like, where is the skill? So to me, I think if we are going to use AI, we have to have new rules, and I don't think we're having those conversations. Like, what are the new rules of engagement? When should I tell you that this email was written by someone else, a robot? When should I tell you that this document was never even reviewed by me because I don't even know if it has factual errors? Should I not have some personal responsibility? What have I been hired for? While I'm on the screen, this image that I built in AI, I said retro chic image of two people working. Do you think that's the image it produced? Does that look like an image you would usually see? So that is the image it made, right? So AI is here to flatten where we've been. It's taking all the stereotypes of what has happened in the past. It's holding a mirror back to us. It's not wrong, it's true. This is the world that we lived in. This woman is dead in the eyes, right? Like, she is like possibly crying. You cannot see it, but I think there's a tear. And that guy is telling her what to do. So there is a whole bunch of study going on right now, but AI is weird. And weird stands for white, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. So overt racism has been taken care of. When you type in an ape, it doesn't show a black person. But inside it, it still has all of that bias. And we're going to trust this to give people mortgages, right? Like, you think about that, that's like very troubling. When you pair that with a human who says there might be factual errors, but here you go, you're absolving yourself of responsibility as a human being. And who said that was okay? And did we have this conversation as a society? So I think there's lots of room for us. I just don't think the middle is where we can belong. If you're proud of shortcuts in an application you use, this is not the time to talk about that. No one wants to know how good you are at whatever tool that you think you're really great at. The conversation has to be about more messy things. It has to be about people. It has to be, I had this conversation upstairs where this person was telling me how excited she is about research and why she cares and why it connects. I hope she's here. And I was like, it was infectious to hear that, right? Like, it's still about human beings. Like, at the end of the day, we work in technology, but we cannot let technology become the end result, right? We're still building things for each other. I'm trying to be honest with how much AI I use, and I talk about it. Like, this presentation is all done in code. It was like spat out by AI, but I keep time because I have a consultant background, so I always log my time. And when it goes over a certain threshold, I scold myself. I'm like, well, who's a driver and who's a passenger, right? Who's a dog and who's a tail? So I was very clear on what I wanted to say today. I was very clear on how I wanted to do it. AI did create a different presentation, which I'm not showing, but it was like crap, right? It was like big numbers, huge, sexy graphics, and there was no meat there. There was no humanity. It was just a crunch. It was just data. As a coach, I use AI every single day. I use it for figuring out my meeting notes. I use it for summaries, but the summaries are never good enough because the things I want to accentuate, the things that I feel my clients would benefit from are flattened in those bullets. I still need to pump up what I know will be useful for them. I have to use my storytelling, my experience, to make that session useful for them. And when it comes to the actual session, it's really important that it's between two human beings. They're telling me stuff that I'm not even qualified to know about, because sometimes it goes into counseling territory. But it's stories. They're telling me their stories, I'm telling them mine, and we're exchanging something together. I think, Carl, you said it's a two-way street. It's definitely a two-way street, and you cannot let that change. Because the day it does, I don't think we need coaches anymore. So my throwdown is to reclaim craft by changing process. I think as designers, we have failed in that we have been very precious about the things that don't matter anymore. We still continue to talk about double diamonds and all of that. It's gone away. Like, I'm sorry, we could have a funeral procession for it, but that idea of us moving at the pace of 6 months when an engineer is building 6 prototypes using an agentic workforce, it's not going to work out. There's something wrong, right? So we can move faster, but we have to remember to bring the human in, and that's where organizationally we have to have conversations. I don't think it's fair for designers to carry all the burden. It has to be change that comes from the top. And people have to understand that we are actually eating the seed corn. If you're all out of work, Amazon does not get to sell product. And I don't know who is having that conversation. I don't understand where we are at with that. The middle will never come back. I think even if we have a giant crash, I have said this presentation will age really badly. I could be totally wrong. Maybe somehow AI will just die. But I don't think the middle is coming back, and it's something that we really need to think about when we're writing our resumes, when we're talking about our portfolios. I tell all my clients, I don't think anybody is an employee anymore. So the biggest thing that I would say is think of yourself as a contractor at whatever job you are, because when you do that, you remove permanence, and then you realize there is no such thing as permanence. Once you remove that, you have so much freedom, because now you can do your best work and you're doing it for your portfolio. You might think you're doing it for your employer, but you never were. You were always doing it for yourself. Now we're just more honest about it. Companies have finally shown us who they are, so now we get to be who we are, right? Like, I think that's the throwdown for us is to wake up and go, oh, I always owned a business. I just never realized it. And empathy is not automated yet, right? If I want you to feel something, it has to come from the heart. It has to come from human stories. You can do a lot of number crunching with AI, but when it comes to an actual patient issue in healthcare, you will go back to a patient and talk about their story. Nobody is making cures for 2.5 people. Like, that's not how we work. It's about people at the end of the day. So I'm betting on humans. I'm not betting on the billionaires. I think they have shown us who they are. But at this point, we need to do what we are really great at. Thank you. Do we have time for Q&A? Do we have time? All right, so these were my questions. This is also a deflection because I don't really have all the answers, so I'm hoping that we can actually have a conversation. These are some of the questions. If anybody has other questions or just wants to answer one of these, that would be amazing. Someone there, there's 3 people on that side.
No?
Yeah.
Yes? Oh, yeah. Thank you. That was very interesting, very well done. I just had, I deducted something based on your presentation, and I wanted to double check if that I understood it correctly. So the human modes will be more effective for people who've been in the same organization for a longer time. So they had the tenure that, they build those relationships, they learn about what happened. And then if we look at the typical design career, I don't know how long that is.
Yeah.
But then oftentimes I find it very difficult for people to stay somewhere and then, deal with all the ups and downs that comes with it, and then gradually kind of be the one person that, or the group of people who knows everything about that organization. Would you suggest that it would be better off for people in future to stay somewhere? Because, it used to be like many years ago, you started in one company, you lasted there forever. What's your thoughts on that?
So let's go back to contractor model, right? So if you are a contractor, because you're not an employee, so you don't know how long you're going to be here, so you start with day one. I think it's really important to control and own your onboarding. So you would talk to a lot of people when you are a new designer in a new company. You would make sure that you have organizational knowledge, and that is currency. Right? The moment you know what people are all about and their agendas and what people are wanting to do, you suddenly hold a lot of information right off the bat. I do not want to encourage a mindset that is stay at a company longer than you want to. It's called job hugging. If everybody knows, it's a thing that's happening. People are staying. I don't think that's how we want to design our careers. I think that leads to burnout. It leads to depression. There's historic amount of depression right now. Like, it's really high for people. So I would say control and own your narrative and your career and the knowledge that you're gaining. It's a messy situation for a new person coming into a company, but I would say own your own onboarding, get to know people, start to build that currency as you go.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, so you were talking about how people don't hire as juniors anymore. So what do you think is going to happen? Say in 20 years, metal designers become seniors, seniors retire.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to fill in the gap?
Issue.
What's going to happen in 20 years?
Well, there's lots of great companies that are hiring juniors. I think Sun Life is one of them. So there are people, but the trend, and the issue is, the larger companies are usually set the trend for tech, right? So the Googles and the Facebook, they're not hiring juniors. Like, there's a lot of cutbacks in that area. So your question is like, I don't have the answer other than we hustle and just create your own gigs. Like, at this point right now, you could build an app like in a day. So it's possibly an introspective question for you, is that what do you want to contribute to the world? What do you think would be really of use? And when you figure that out, the opportunities are limitless. Like, I have never been able to code my own website, which has lots of like techie stuff in it, and I can do that quickly now, and I don't care what the code quality is. So don't be afraid of coding, don't be afraid of building, be clear in your own journey of what you want to do, and just do it. Because like, honestly, it's free. You can do everything for free. All my websites are free. They're hosted on GitHub, all created with AI. I didn't pay a developer. I didn't pay for any deployment or anything. So I think there's a lot of power. And the thesis of my conversation here is about control. At the end of the day, we have to have more control, right? The second you give up control, you feel helpless. And you're like, oh my God, what is going to happen to my education? Where am I going? We have to find that control again. And the only way I know how is to control the things I can control. You cannot change organizations, but you can take ownership on the things you create. There's a lot of opportunity for creation. Just don't be an influencer. That's all I ask.
I loved your presentation. It was
Thank
just
you.
spot on. Just on a positive note, so one of our volunteers that joined us recently is interviewing right now with IBM, my previous company. And she was saying, the person that she was interviewing with saying, there's a whole lot of open positions for entry level. I looked it up, and Arvind Krishna, the CEO of IBM, recently said, and that's where AI started in many ways, right? And he was saying, you know what, AI doesn't do everything we want it to do. We need entry-level people, because where are we going to get the senior people? Nobody else seems to be thinking about that. I just wonder whether there's going to be a trend, possibly, of that kind of awakening.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Jack Dorsey basically laying off half of the workforce for Block, which is the parent company for Square. I wonder if we're betting on something, right? And the people who are betting on it are the people that are making it. So there's an inherent bias. Like, there's a bias that they are not actually examining. And you look through the history of tech, it's always been this way. Tech people overemphasize and are overexcited about new tech. We just assume it's going to work. So I completely agree with you. I hope we fuck up to the point that we hire and have AI robots doing everything, and then we're like, oh my God, what we're building is not working. But the problem is the pain till we get to that point. That's the issue. Like, the math doesn't math. Like, I don't understand how you actually recoup the billions that are being spent. I don't know who's paying for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that, the talk, Gagan.
Thank you.
I think one thing that I want us to take away from this too is there's a lot of headlines about AI all the time. And one thing that really stuck out with me from Gagan's talk was that everything going to the middle. And so this is an opportunity that we can take, that we can either choose to just say, yep, good enough is good enough, and we go to the middle, or with the knowledge and with the entrepreneurial drive that many of you have, you can actually be the exception to the rule, and you can set what the bar is regardless of necessarily what the greater trends are. There's always going to be an exception. And so kind of like what Habits for a Better World said too, like, why couldn't that exception be you? So why not us? That's sort of the vibe that we're hoping to take, but also like, we have always been at Blend about sharing the honest conversations that maybe can't be shared everywhere else. And so we felt it would be a bit remiss too to not address some of the fears and concerns that are actually playing in everyone's heads, but people are afraid to say. So thank you, Gagan, for sharing that.